Thing in progress.
Well, welcome to episode 10 of Let the Story Write Itself. And as I record this, I'm in Indonesia. It's afternoon right now and it's raining and it just feels very cozy just being inside right now. I don't know, but sometimes when it's raining, it kind of almost makes you feel like, okay, I don't have to be out and about right now. I don't know if anyone else gets that, but it's this feeling of FOMO sometimes when it's like a sunny blue day, blue sky day, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to be out doing all the things and whatnot. When it's like rainy and cozy and there's a storm brewing, it kind of feels like you have that almost like permission. Well, not permission, but just like staying inside feels more more settling than being out and about. So, anyways, I'm just recording this podcast, episode 10, and it's very ironic that I'm recording this as I'm in Bali, Indonesia, right? And I've been here for nearly a month now, and I've been to Bali, but it's also not my first time here. And I'm literally talking about in my podcast, not the story by itself. I'm talking about stories that happened over a decade ago where I'm still like going on my first almost like this adventure unfolding where I'm going to say just a different province in the same country. And I'd gone to like some solo travel where I'd gone to the west coast of the USA on prior to that. But I was still very much in this, I would say, early stage where I not really truly ventured to sort of on my own international. Like, I've been international like with my family and things of that nature, but not truly and not even just like, oh, I'm going on vacation, but really what this is for me was a journey that was more about uncovering like my own inner self-trust and that trust in the universe and life itself to flow and to unfold on its own. And I I just had a thought right now, just because it's like quite stormy outside. For some reason, when it's like stormy outside, I almost feel like this layer of freedom where I feel more, I don't know, there's this feeling of ease and joy. Like I don't feel as constricted somehow when I'm indoors. That makes sense. Sometimes when you're indoors and it's like super calm outside, sometimes there's this feeling like I'm almost trying to like, subdue myself as well. But when there's like a storm and the wind's like blowing everywhere and it feels really dramatic outside, suddenly it's like I feel almost this feeling of added like joy inside because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can really, I don't know, it just taps into something different. But anyway, where was I? Okay, so I'm in my previous episode, episode 9, I speak about the month I had in Toronto in this time period where I'm just allowing life to flow and I don't even necessarily have a plan and I'm just allowing God, universe, intuition to lead me, like that intrinsic motivation and desire and pull. And keep in mind that like I'm not while this is a story where it's like I'm going to different places and I've spent a month in Toronto. Go back to episode 9 if you have not listened to that episode. And in fact, go back all the way to episode Come Full Circle if you really have not heard about how the journey began and unfolded along the way. And essentially, I spent this month in Toronto and basically like pack all my stuff with me from Vancouver and I'm now in Toronto. And I'm like on the verge of going to Spain now because suddenly I have this idea to go to Spain. And this is like my last week in Toronto for the month that I'm there on this one-way ticket. And I'm now feeling called to another level almost to like, okay, I got over that hurdle of like, okay, take a one-way train to Toronto and that almost was a bit of a mental block, or not a mental block, but like this feeling of like I had to grow into it. Because I wasn't just like, I'm coming back to Vancouver. It was like this feeling of I'm going into the unknown. I'm going on a one-way ticket. I have no particular plans to return. I don't even have a feeling like I can't really see into the future right now. And now I'm just like, I had like the month of in Toronto went by so fast. To go back to listen to that episode 9, month of Toronto, where I go more into details as to what unfolded that month. But I wanted to go more into the idea that this for me was not about travel. This was not, I wasn't looking for anything in particular, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't going for, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get a job there. I'm looking for romance. I'm looking for travel. I'm looking for this and this and that. Like I wasn't looking for anything in particular. And that's a key point. The time that I felt this call to go on an adventure, I felt very, very whole and complete in myself already. I was living in Vancouver, and there was this one niggling factor that kept recurring to me. I'm a bit bored right now. Let's be frank. Like I'm in my mid-20s. I've lived in Vancouver before, and I am the type of person that will explore everything. So like I would always be drawn to like say the different local shops and the markets. Like I'm not shopping at like big box stores or stuff of that nature, right? I'm shopping at very like I'm almost like so almost be like on the verge of becoming vegan, that type of thing, right? Where I'm just exploring a lot of the hippie alternative lifestyles and like shopping at well, I didn't usually shop at thrift stores. In fact, like I don't really like to shop for clothes in general, at least in this time of my life. So I was very much like a bit more of a tomboy, and I always like to just um like I wanted clothes that I could feel very like at this time in Vancouver, I was wearing a lot of like floral dresses and like more preppy like cardigans and like ankle boots, but I was always like still very like I would always be walking around, even biking, even like going on hikes, and like I wouldn't really guess I was going on those doing these things. So for me, it was like always like a blend between just living life and just being. But point I wanted to emphasize on this is that when I was in my hometown in Alberta and had just completed university and was outside, and then I took on a few jobs, every time I was at some kind of like a more constricted role or like a quote unquote job, I always had this longing to be elsewhere. Like I never felt like I was fully there. Like I go back to like the earlier episodes, or if you know a bit of my story, I was always like, I never felt like I was fully there in body, like fully there in mind and spirit when I was at university. I was there physically, but I was never fully there, right? And that occurred like even after that when I was like, oh, I'm gonna like, fit myself into like a job next. And every time it's like I literally would be like, it's just like a mismatch with my soul, right? That feeling of like I'm not in the right place at the right time right now. My soul is somewhere else. And that's interesting because at 17 at the orientation in uni, what was the voice that whispered to me? Go travel. And it wasn't just like this feeling of like, oh, first you get a degree, first you work, first you do this, and then you go travel. I was like, no, you go travel right now. You choose this first. This is not like this is like the way, there's that quote by that Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't remember the name, but the quote goes, "Happiness is there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the way, right?" And the thing is, like, I've always grown up in I'm a naturally happy person, I'm a naturally optimistic person, I'm naturally like fun loving. I always very creative, full of ideas, always like can keep myself entertained because I have such a rich inner sleep and mental life, essentially. And I'm just always finding like the fun anywhere that I am, essentially. That's just kind of person I am, like a very playful, creative, and person who, you know, in like it's just like I'm that type of person, right? And so, when I get this call, I'm going to travel at 17, although I'm like still in that mental state, I'm thinking like, what does this mean? La la la. And I essentially just kind of get bogged talked in like in a sense, like why wasn't I able to make that decision at that time, right? Because it's almost like this idea that travel, it's not even just about travel, travel is such a cliche now. I just want this and this, but there's always something deeper than that. It's because it's like intuitively that call was that knowing that what travel embraces are, it already encompasses a lot of my values. And a lot of my values are in fact are novelty, it's exploration, it's expansion, it's experiences, it's wisdom, it's that intrinsic feeling of just being who you are at core. And these are like natural aspects of who I am. For each person, this might be different. Maybe your values are more family, it's relationships, it's a career, it's something more like it could be different. For me, I'm definitely someone who is about exploration and wisdom and expansion, like expansion of your being, like who you are, and that sense of, which is why I've always loved like novelty and like variety and like just exposing myself to so many different things. And so when I got that intuitive hit, it was really just my intuitive soul almost pulling everything that I really am in spirit and soul and being like, well, this is the way, you know, traditional education and that pathway is not the way. So it's almost that idea that trusting that inner compass and that intuitive voice within because it already knows. And so it's no surprise that, you know, it's like I would still, this is who I was naturally. When I wasn't, when I was even at jobs, I would always be like, I feel like I need to go out. I need to be at, like, I'm feeling very constricted here. And what happened when I kind of like was not at 9 to 5 job, or when I wasn't at jobs in particular, or when I wasn't at places that I felt like when I was able to pick my own, like if I picked like freelance roles, even went, I went and did like door-to-door sales because that was more freeing to me. Like I could almost pick my own schedule. And then even within that role, I had a lot of tremendous amount of creative freedom. And so I eventually kind of whittled myself away from this more constrictive, like safe role of like, oh, having a wage and having like this particular schedule and whatnot, which just did not suit me, right? And then eventually it kind of just led me to different avenues. It led me to Vipassana, attending retreat, led me to solo travel through the west coast of the USA, and then it led me to go live in different cities. And now I find myself in Vancouver, right? And then I'm now, and then I get a pull to go to Toronto on this one way ticket. So it's like my soul is always pulling me in the direction of who I actually am. And the fact is that when I was in my hometown, when I was not doing the things that I thought I quote unquote had to do, school or employment or in the traditional sense, I was going out on my bike. I was exploring on foot. I was putting myself into new situations. I was doing a lot of volunteering work. To me, interestingly enough, volunteer work was more interesting and more meaningful to me than paid work in that sense. Like it felt more in tune with like my soul. Like I could be more of a giver. I could be more of a contributor. I could choose what I wanted to do. And it also led me to different parts of the city where, you know, this is where I say comb my city like a fine tooth comb because then I would explore like whatever places of interest were nearby in those particular neighborhoods or sections of town or whatnot. And then I would wander around, like whether on foot or by bike or public transport. You know, a lot of times I would literally comb it off in car because that's totally different than when you're just like going through all the nooks and crannies on foot and you have like all the time in the world to explore and wander. I did a lot of that where I just free flowing and wandering and I'd pop into this cafe, I would drop it on this thing, or I would go and I would see something like, what's that? And I would literally like, I had like, I literally had so much information and such a diversity and wealth of experiences and information and like who I was just expanding at such an exponential rate that at some point I'm like, you know, I moved to another city, Vancouver now, and then it's not like I've been going there since I was a kid, so not exactly a new city, but it's unfamiliar in the sense I've never truly explored it like on my own. But then by this time in my mid-20s, I've already lived there before, so it's also like my second time around. So at this point in 2016, January, um, that led to that idea, like go to Toronto. I had been feeling like I was getting this feeling of like I've already seen everything, I've already done everything. Like I'm not growing right now. And it really the main word coming to my attention was I'm bored. I'm bored and I'm feeling like my energy is just it's like it's not in that place of high energy because I'm simply not like my values are not being fulfilled. That value of expansion, of exploration, of novelty, of variety, of growth, of you know, personal development, connection to self, all of that stuff. It's like I, and that's where intuition comes in. Where your inner self is always leading you to more of who you already are and what you are seeking on that soul level. So because these are my core values, I then get this pull to go to Toronto. I'm in Toronto, and lo and behold, this month if you go back and listen to that episode, what am I doing? I'm literally in a new playing ground. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm exploring. I'm like, it's like novelty, excitement. It's like exploration, expansion. You know, I have a whole new playground, new ballpark that I get to explore. You know, I'm going. I'm still doing Pashna, and sometimes I go in like these 1 day retreat sessions that they have at different places around the world. So I sometimes go like stop at a Papashna here and there, and then I'm exploring. Like I love going, love shopping at like the boutique stores that have like fair trade and sustainable and like more local handmade things, even if they are maybe a bit more pricey or whatnot. And it's like, it's like I'm hardly ever shopping at like places just to get like the most bang for your buck, if you will. Like I'm not that type of person. And at least in this time of my life, I was really like appreciating more of those experiences that really felt truly nurturing and good to me. And I remember like, I would go and buy the hot cacao that cost like $7 a cup or something because it was like this experience in itself. And I'm not saying like, oh, you need to spend like $7 on hot cacao, but like to me, actually at this point, like at this particular time in my life, like a decade later, this is like the norm for me. Like freaking almost every day, like I'll like the amount of money I spend on stuff is not like it's not even about the money you spend. It's like it just becomes like a natural way of being. It's like where you certainly you come to just become a person who it's like your values is how you lead your life. It's not even about the superficial or the more um like practical, convenient things that a lot of times people focus on, right? They're thinking about the things that people focus on. I find sometimes gives me a headache because those are the very type of things that when I was in jobs per se, it was like the mindset, it was like the collective mindset, it was like that group think, it was like the individual people that I was around that was almost like the intolerable part in a way, where it's like I just felt like, oh my God, the way these people think, it's so not fun. It's so not like cool. It's like not the vibe. It's like I just couldn't be in those environments. And like, if I ever were, it's like I would always be like the odd one out because I was always so like optimistic and like happy and like joyful and playful, right? So either like I would just bounce out of the experience. Like I wouldn't match that vibration of the situation. So this was actually a big part of why I just couldn't stay. So even if I like later on went to like more freelance where I could just do stuff on my own, or I was like I didn't have to be around other people in that sense, or I could just think for myself, or even like pick my own, be more independent in that sense. Or even if I went to door sales, I'm like, okay, this is more in my line where it's more it's more conducive to my energy because it's like I get to like my energy is so important to me, right? And I've always been very aware of how my energy is. And I think this is why I always not felt drawn to certain things like education in the traditional sense or employment in the traditional sense. It's because of that level of groupthink or the vibe or something I just wouldn't necessarily fit in. So what I'm emphasizing right now is that I'm now in Toronto, and guess what? The same things that I'm doing here are the exact same things that I was doing in Vancouver, that I was doing in my hometown. It's like every time I'm like somewhere new, it's just like this new playground, it's this new ballpark. It's like a new level of expansion for me to just become more of who I already am. It's not like I'm doing anything particularly different. I'm just leaning more into the things that already naturally pull me when I'm not constricted or confined to a particular like, oh, I need to, you know, go to this place for this set number of hours or whatnot and do these set like whatever, just that whole very tedious way of being. I'm just like I have this bubbling where it's like I'm just like I'm like suddenly just released. I'm like, whoosh, with all my bigness of energy and like momentum and just that like who I am like gets to just be free. And guess what? That's what I would just go out for like bike rides all day, or I would just like go explore this place, or I would just out all freaking day. The amount of things that I would have like learn and experience and be exposed to is just, I always feel like I have like a wealth of experiences and like this knowledge drink because of so many things I've done in my 20s, in my early 20s, my whole 20s, and even my 30s now, right? I'm still literally bouncing around the world. I'm always learning new things. I'm still doing the freaking almost essentially the same things, just like on a new level right now, right? And then it's almost like I just have like this huge bank of experiences. And for me, this is truly just the way of being. It's like I'm not trying to put myself into certain situations or things that are not actually in alignment for me. And like even when I was in Toronto, I would take like a day trip to like Niagara Falls, right? So I would be like doing like I would literally be like exploring the entire city, like every little neighborhood and everything. And then I'm like, oh, what are some other places maybe even just a little bit outside the city? And I would never want to join like a tour, right? So I would be like, oh, how do I get there on my own? And so I could have that freedom and that independence and, be in my own vibe, so to speak. And so I would take like, I kind of like, oh, I take this bus and then I just walk a little bit. And then while I was walking, because I wasn't just like in the tour, right? Then I could like explore. I remember there's like this little like little town next to Niagara Falls, and I would go in for like stopping for lunch. And it was like this row of very colorful buildings, like very quaint, very character, and like little like local businesses. I'm just going out. So it was like that, and it's like I remember that experience as well, and that is, and the amount of joy that I've experienced, like that high level of joy, it it's still one that I still relive like all the time, like all these experiences. And this is like that intrinsic, that intangible value of living according to your values. And without that idea of like very like that inquantifiable aspect of life, I think sometimes people are so like placing emphasis on like the things that actually don't even matter. That phrase, like when you focus on the unessential, you miss what is essential. It's that idea. It's like I prioritized almost just by way of necessity. Like it just was intolerable to me. And I think it's just like this intuitive like way of being that like I've always just like to have fun and to be like enjoy. And this isn't like an irresponsible type of thing. It's literally like, yeah, I still take care of what needs to be taken care of in a sense, but I'm not allowing myself to be in this false illusion of what actually doesn't actually matter in life. And guess what? I've freaking lived so much life in just within a decade because of all the experiences that I allowed into my experience, into my vicinity, and that I've literally just lived. It's like, if it's like, okay, sure, you can, so-called do all the things that you don't want to do, but it's like, but why? Why would you do something if your soul always knows the path of least resistance. So when you like get out of your mind and you let go, you let God type of things. You surrender, you allow, you flow, you go in your path of ease. You simply go with your intrinsic motivation and your intrinsic pull, your inner compass alignment. It's like your path, your soul already knows the path of least resistance to everything that you already want and are. And it was almost this feeling of like, if you're into Abraham Hicks, it's like this idea of just being in your vortex. It's this idea of like you get to just have it all right now, like everything that you didn't even know you want, right? So this really came to like this convergence this month in Toronto. I'm like on the precipice of now being called to go abroad to Spain, and it was this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I've got to take another leap again. Like it felt like a leap for me to take this one-way ticket on a train from Vancouver to Toronto. That looking back now, I'm like, holy crap, that felt like such a big leap at the time. That at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the number of times that I've literally just taken a one-way ticket to like foreign destinations and places on my own is like it's countless now. But at that time, it was such a big thing. I was like, and then at that time, I was like on the precipice of flying from Toronto to Spain, like going abroad overseas. That also felt like a major leap. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I've never actually gone anywhere on my own, and especially like without a plan, if that makes sense. Like I'm just buying a one-way ticket without a plan, and even like not even like like I don't even think I'm traveling, right? I'm not going on vacation here. It's almost just like living life. It's like I'm just in the flow of life. And that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, this for me was like a journey of just simply living, just simply being, of just simply be like allowing your soul to express itself. So for me, it's like these are the things that I when I realize the pattern now, it's not about any particular thing. It's about the idea that you're allowing your inner compass to to be in the driver's seat. So many times we think that we know better, or that, oh, someone else knows better, or even like society, the way that things are structured, or is like the norm, or the convention is like the thing. But if your heart is pulling you towards something else, or there's something that just feels like it's not quite right, it's a bit off, it's like you're not feeling good. Like that's a huge sign, right? If you're not feeling good, that is like number one signal. And sometimes it sounds so simple. It sounds too almost like too good to be true. Like, oh, you just, if you don't feel good, like you need to just feel good. Or yeah, you need to just feel good. You know what I mean? Like, when in your life did you get taught or conditioned to think that you had to be punished in some sense, or that you had to be in a state of struggle or some sense, or that you had to feel not good? You know, when in your life did that become almost like a thing? Because that really is part of that false state of being and false state of illusion that a lot of people sometimes get into, myself included, at some point, where it's almost like, why did I, when I didn't feel good to go into university, why did I override that feeling? Why did I override the feeling when I, then got out of university and was still almost keeping myself in that very low vibe state of like, okay, now I need to go fit myself into a freaking job that I have no intrinsic like connection with, in that sense of that motivation, or even just that it was like a very like superficial, well, I got to do this for this. It was like a means to an end instead of just like simply the truth and the purity of doing things for as an end in itself, where it's like you're not doing it for any particular reason. You're not doing it because what you think you can get out of it. You're not doing it because you think it's going to mean something. You're literally just doing something because you're like a kid, you're like a child. You're just doing it because it feels good, because you're pulled to it, because there's a pure, innate, intrinsic desire and a want and a feeling of connection to something. And that's where you live in the space of the unknown. That's where you transcend like the, whatever you like, the pettiness of everyday life, if I just gonna put it that way, like the nonsense that sometimes occurs in the 3D world, because you literally transcend into your higher self, your higher mind. You go beyond what is. And that's where you literally feel like you're, in a way, you start feeling like you're one with the universe. You're like, you reach a level of certain enlightenment. You start feeling like you're in the magic and you're in the flow, you're in the ease, you're in the abundance, you're in the wellness of life. You just feel really, really good. You're like, yeah, into really high joy states. And that's where your vibration totally lifts and your experience of the world changes. And then you see things more clearly. And you also attract things that are more like that, in a sense. And your tolerance for other things just, just washes away. And that's where really it's like the work you do by just being in your highest vibration state and connecting with your true self is actually the work you do for a lot of other people. Because people will see you, people will be like, they might not consciously know it, but they will be drawn to your light. It might also awaken something inside of them. It might switch something on. Nowadays you see like there's a lot of people who are more in that state of like just going with that inner pull, and like they are willing to just do this and this and that. And that's the thing. It's like that's the way that the world is going when consciousness kind of elevates and awakens more and more. So it's like when you do something that you're pulled to, it's like not only is it a butterfly effect, but it's also this idea that like if you have that pull, chances are you're reading something into the future that maybe it's not so common right now, but it is the way that things are going and shifting. So it's like you become like your own leader. It's like you trust yourself. You are in one, like in cahoots with the universe, in a sense. Like you're in tune with your highest self. And, if you believe that the world is interconnected, then you know that there are these higher, there's like the higher self exists in a place where everyone has access to it. Everyone has access to that higher state of mind. And so when you tap into that, that's when you really truly experience more of the magic and the ease and the flow and the abundance of the universe. And you start to realize that life really is more just about play and joy and the higher order values of the world, and not like the the arbitrary rules and laws and things that people make up that are, don't actually are not actually necessarily the truth, are not actually necessarily truth and wisdom and like these higher, more timeless, more eternal values that stand the test of time. So for me, that's what I focus on. That is where I simply go with that intrinsic pull. And so for me, whether I was at some point just had to choose it because out of necessity, where it was like, you know what, it's like I had to just prioritize my own joy because I was like, it was like going nowhere if I wasn't. I was just like, what is this? And you might think like, oh, well, so you just go around and like have fun all day and this and that. But for me, it's not really about fun and like that sense of like, oh, I'm just like, you know, it's like this giving and receiving where it's like you allow yourself to receive. And then as you go along, it's like that's what you give is also what you receive. It's almost like this very, um, I don't even know what you would call it, but it's like this very giving and receiving type of vibe where you're in this ebb and flow where what you do is what you do for others, in a sense. Like I'll probably go more into this in other episodes, but this is I'll just wrap up this episode for now, which is just that realization that what I'm doing in Toronto is very much the same as what I was doing in other places, just on another level. And it was just like the bottom line of everything is that value of expansion, of growth, of experiences, of novelty, of personal development, of spiritual connection. And that's exactly the values that I'm living. I'm living even more now, a decade later, from this time and experience where, even just taking the leap from one province to another was a big deal to me. Like, not just going there, but actually, like, not even just moving there, but like allowing myself to just go into the unknown. And then suddenly, because I'm on a one-way ticket and like open-ended and there's no like supposed time frame, like isn't that parallel life? It's like you're just on this journey of life. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm getting this pull, go to Spain. And suddenly it's another leap. So that will be what I get into for the next episode. Um, where I will talk about making that leap from Toronto to Spain and the thoughts that were going in my mind as this was happening, and what thoughts were happening now at this time in my life where that was not necessarily the norm for me, and I was stretching. I was in the state of stretching and expanding when now it's so easy for me. At that time, felt like a big leap. So I will get into that in the next episode.